Hey, it's Fiona Grey, and I'm hanging out with Rob on Front Row Live.
What's up, guys? Rob here, Front Row Live Entertainment. I'm hanging out with Fiona Grey.
Hello.
It's been some time that I've been wanting to actually sit down with you because your cult classic EP was incredible for me.
Aw, thank you.
So I'm glad that we can have this opportunity right now
it.
and talk about this new material that you've got going on. It's a new, fresh take, like sound and style, in a sense.
Yeah.
Let's talk about high and low and like just coming into that creative process of. Not high and low, high low.
Yeah. No. But highs and lows.
And lows, yeah.
Inspired high low.
Yeah. Exactly. But like that creative process of something like this, it's like a new era of Fiona. That's what I get when I'm listening to this. Talk to me about that.
I think music should grow with you. Like, I think as we get older and as, like, for me, I'm so inspired by people who have new stories to tell. And I think as, like, a music society, we're like, oh, they've gone through some things.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's just been about, like, I think every EP and every single that I've released up until this first album has been about how can I just authentically, and I think we overuse that word, but genuinely, like, how can I just tell the story of what's going on in my life? Right. And so sometimes sonically just kind of naturally follows whatever that emotional landscape is.
Right. And when it comes to that and you're trying to figure out that emotional landscape and you're coming into this writing session and you're coming into the studio and trying to figure out what do I talk about, what do I not talk about? Like, how does that what kind of impact does that have for you in that process?
I feel like I'm such an emotional person that I'm usually really in tune to like what I want to talk about. I think with this record, it was the first time that I was open to talking about everything that I've gone through. You know, there are some as we continue the rollout, I mean, High Low kind of is the song that captures all of those emotions. But I think the thing that was really empowering for me, I think as a woman and as somebody who's like gone through some kind of like scary things in my life, is that I wasn't afraid to actually write those songs that maybe in Cult Classic I touched on, but in a way that was maybe more opaque. I'm a little more transparent because I'm like, you know, like, let's go. Let's not hide anything. Yeah.
F this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So when it comes down to that, like, does it matter the type of producer that you're going to bring on board, the type of collaborator that you might have as well? Like, or does that not matter at all to you as long as you get your word out?
I work with people that you like work with people that you love, work with people that you trust, work with people that even though you are going to sign those contracts with them, you know that like they're good, they're solid. I think that's so important because I think you need to have that trust in the studio. I worked with Stephen Collier, who's amazing artist. He has an insanely great solo project, has toured with Ethel Cain, wrote, I think American Teenager, quote me if not, it's another one.
Yeah.
And we did the first 4 songs together, and then I got together with another Steve Bonham and Alex Elena to finish the album, and we did that in Rome. And it was just like good people and like people that I felt like when they're talking about music they like, I'm like, yes. Okay, you get where I'm inspired from.
You don't have to explain anything. You just show up.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So the fact that this is High Low is the first sound and style of this upcoming album. Why did you feel like this was the perfect introduction to this like new era of Fiona?
I think that with grief and with like records that really touch upon a lot of grief, our expectation is that they're going to be like a bummer. Like it's going to be sad stuff. And I think I wanted to show like what for me is like the duality, which is just because things are sad, it makes you appreciate like the beauty of life so much more. And I think that was where I was at emotionally while writing this record.
Right.
I mean, the most obvious example of this was I had a billboard on Sunset. And it was like LA Weekly just named me the best pop artist in LA. Wow. And it said Fiona Grey, the best pop artist in LA. That billboard was on Sunset the same time my sibling passed away. And you think to yourself, you're like, oh my, like, where where do we fall?
Yeah.
And hopefully you fall in the middle, because both ends, one is ego and deep ego, and that's not good.
Right.
And the other is just deep despair.
Right.
And I feel like for me, it just took me to a place of like my life was yo-yoing me so much that I found some place in the middle that I could hold on to for dear life. So that's like my, I think, most obvious example of high-low.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that I can't even imagine how else to describe that. Like,
yeah.
And that is one of those, like, unfortunately, that's the reality that we live in. It's like something good happens, but then there's always something super bad that happens, and it's like, where do you stand?
The first line is like, oh, what a thrill, and then we're back at the starting point.
Exactly.
And for me, that was like, my best friend died a year after my sibling died, and I was and at that point, like, and I think people who understand grief will get this.
Yeah.
The other people will be like, that's weird. You laugh. You're like, what the?
Like, seriously?
Like, we're back here?
Yeah.
Like, I'm having to like re-go through all of this, re-go through all of these emotions.
Right.
So yeah, that was like the opening line was really sitting in that space.
Dang. And I'm sure like this was definitely like, you know, everybody says like music is their therapy, but I feel like this was really like that whole therapy session that you needed during this process.
I think it should be for everything that you do.
Yeah.
Because if it's not, like, even if you're writing something about like the most joyous moment of your life, you're still, I don't know, you're taking something that is abstract, like an emotion, and you're creating something that you can like be like, hey, you know what? That was rough, but look what I made from it.
Right.
And I think that is the beauty of it.
Yeah, like I mean, bouncing off of that, I feel like that definitely impacted that creative process for this album. I feel like that fire fueled even more than it ever has, probably.
Yeah.
When it came down to writing the album, did you know that you were writing this album, or were you just letting all these words come out because of the way that you were feeling, and the next thing you know, there's an album out?
So there was like that started as an EP. So it started as an EP, and that was, I finished that and I looked to Stephen Collier and I was like, there's more.
Mm-hmm.
There's more to tell. And like, I didn't want to be so afraid that because I'm independent, I can't release an album, and because this. And I said, no, like, I don't want to keep telling a part of the story. And so then after that, it was like very intentional.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I think I'd started it saying like, I want to talk about this, this, and this. And I definitely like moved away and let things kind of just like organically happen.
Yeah.
And some songs were just me and my guitar here alone. And then some were just in studios with people I really love and trust.
Now, I listened to Cult Classic, and I listened to this new material. Your voice is different. I don't know if it's like an effect that you did, or you're just going for a different tone with your voice with high-low. What did you do differently this time vocally on this track?
I think there is some like sonic treatment difference. I think that Cult Classic was really, it was all about like this cinematic space, which I was so inspired by. Like, I still am so proud of all of the visuals and everything that we did.
I want to say more theatrical, actually, like more than cinematic.
Yeah, theatrical. So theatrical. I think that we really kind of stripped it back for this. Like, it's undertreated in a lot of ways. And I think you'll kind of hear like there are songs where I like that you can hear the breath. Yeah. And like there are songs that like are just like one take.
Wow.
And we did do that in Cult Classic. Girls Like Me is a one take vocal track, but for the most part, like it was a little bit, this was a different, I think, sonic treatment. Yeah. But yeah.
And it's cool that like you're doing less of a treatment for something that's more serious. So it's like we get to really, once more material comes out, like we get to really feel as if we're in that story, in that incident with you.
Yeah, I think there are going to be some moments of just like my most you are sitting next to me on the couch and I'm singing this to you.
Like I'm holding your hand and I'm grasping for life.
I want you to like, my goal with some of the tracks and some of the tracks that were, I have a song about Michael, my friend who passed away, and like I really didn't know if I wanted to keep. I started crying during a vocal take. Wow. And so I have this like whimper. Is that the right word? Whimper in my voice?
It is today.
It is today. I don't know. Don't look that one up. But you know what I mean? Like that like crack in my voice. And I was like, no, to tell the story, like even though it makes me a little uncomfortable, like that has to stay. So those
I'm glad you kept it.
things to look forward to.
That's that makes it even more authentic than it already was.
Yeah. And it's a fun record. Like, it's like, again, my goal wasn't to make like, I want, you should dance to High Low. Like,
Yeah.
it's a fun song. Like, and I think the beautiful thing about music is you can connect it to anything that you want in your life.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be my like chaotic highs and lows. Like, hopefully it's a more, like simple high and low in life.
Yeah.
Or don't connect it to anything and just dance
Just
to it.
dance.
I think that's
Just
like
dance and sing
music.
along.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah. We don't need to take everything so seriously.
Lyrically, how do you feel that you've evolved as a songwriter? Just because you were amazing back in the day, like when you were starting to release music, when you released everything that you've released, and then today it's like, obviously you're going through these emotions and going through this experience, but I feel like you've evolved so much as like the way that you tell a story. You're not so, as you kind of mentioned earlier, like it wasn't so direct as it is now. So like, was that something that took you some time to learn how to do and execute?
I think I just had to find more comfort within myself to be more transparent. And I think that there is beauty in like symbolism and being opaque. And I still love those moments. That isn't this record. Like, this record, there are things where it's very like, that did happen, lines. But I think it's just kind of being more comfortable with like what the naysayers will say. Like, I think cult classic to me like was I was too afraid to say that it was a cult-based love story because of what could happen if I overly shared anything.
Right.
And now I'm just at a point that I don't care. Like, I am so much more comfortable with criticism than I think I was. So I think I hid behind symbolism, which is kind of why I like that EP. So I'm fine with it. But now it's just, I don't know. I think learning and growing, I think you should constantly be writing better songs. If you're not, then like stop.
Yeah.
Like not in like a negative way, but like challenge yourself. Like the journey of life as an artist is that you always should feel like your next thing is going to be the best thing. When you get to that point, maybe there's something else that's like creatively fulfilling for you. So I think, I mean, my dad's a musician and he's been a musician all of his life, and he's always like, but my next album, but this, and I'm working on this, and like that's what keeps you alive.
Yeah, it never ends.
Never ends, and it shouldn't. Because like we're on a planet in the sky. Like, it's so meaningless. Like, make art and have fun with it. Like,
be happy.
Yeah, sorry, I'm so existential.
No, I love that. And at the same time, like you mentioned, like going to Rome to create some of this record. Creating an album is not just sitting down, being on the in the booth and working with a producer. It's like this whole experience that you get to do that we as listeners don't always know about. So in this case, you went to Rome to create most of this record.
Yeah.
What kind of impact did that have? Being in a different environment, being in a place that you didn't have to be worried that, someone's going to walk by and be like, oh, hey, what's up? You're just doing this yourself.
Well, number one, different time zone.
Yeah.
Nobody was texting me when I was in the studio.
Perfect.
And like, that might not seem like a big deal, but like, it was huge.
Yeah.
Because when I was there, I was just fully focused.
Yeah, it's a big distraction.
Yeah, huge distraction. And you don't realize it. I think that we've been taught to girl boss and to hustle and to multitask. And I actually think that we're getting to a place where it's not healthy.
Yeah.
And you can't make your best art if you're multitasking like a ton of things while you're doing it.
It's a 10% of everything.
Yeah. And it's not like we can add another 100% to this. And I think that I really was of the mindset that I could. And I can't.
Yeah.
And so being there, I was able to fully, like, I would wake up in the morning and journal. And I did video diaries every day I was there. We're going to be releasing like a kind of mini doc around the album, which was cool. And just honestly, just being in a different culture. And I don't know. I think that I took time to like sit with myself and my thoughts so much more than I have in a long time. And I felt like I was able to make peace being outside of like my universe.
Yeah.
And it really, I think, came through in the music, and that's the goal.
Yeah. And I love that you kind of bounced on this because you've always been, even if you're an independent artist, it's always seemed like you've been backed by so many different people. Like you have a big team and whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like you've never just released a record and hey, that I'm done. I'm moving on to the next thing. It's always been something major, a major music video, whatever it may be. How are you able to continue to do that yourself when you're basically running this entire show?
Yeah. Sadly, no dad backing this. I wish I was like, come on, no rich parents. No, I think that's where the hustling should come in.
Yeah.
Like, I think that is where it has its place. And I didn't do as good of a job in my early career. So this is like,
You're
I
learning.
think, good advice, but I did a good job this past time.
Yeah.
Save the money before the project, make a budget, and know that it's going to go quick, I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Do favors for your friends before you do favors, be there for their projects and they'll be there for yours. Like not in a transactional way, but more in a be the first person to help them out with something. Cause when you need it, they'll be there for you. And be smart with how you spend your money. Like I pick and choose the places to spend my money, which isn't a lot, on the ways that are going to make it feel like the biggest video. I'm crock pot cooking crafty.
Wow.
Like I am making taco bar and I am clipping coupons.
I'm going to your next video.
Yeah,
shoot.
come. They're great. Yeah. So I think just being smart with it, but I think it's important. These are the visuals representing our music. Like, why wouldn't we want to make something big and awesome to go with them?
No, and that's good. And I feel like that gets lost when artists get bigger, when artists get signed. They forget about that moment when they were in their living room trying to create their first merch for that show that they were going to have, or just trying to figure out that game plan for that release that they're about to drop.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's very important. For me, we talked earlier how I came from the Warped Tour scene and everything was do it yourself. You hustled.
Yeah. DIY was really hot.
Exactly. It still is.
Hot,
but it's I love it more and I appreciate the music more and an artist more when they still do that. Just because we're human. It's, I don't know. I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but it's I feel like.
Well, you're putting so much more heart into it. You're
exactly.
saying
there we go.
Here's the thing. Here's how I feel is I am a fan of music and I am a fan of artists. And I really respect the artists that give a can I say?
You can say whatever you want.
Give a shit about me. Enough to put something into the visuals that they're creating, into their communication with me. I have been so blessed to do Kickstarters and have people fund my records through those avenues or come to shows or support me. Of course I'd want to make something that's rad for them.
Yeah.
Of course I'd want to it's not a one-sided relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that your visuals and the things that you create and cool merch, when an artist is just okay, we'll do that, we'll do this, I'll sign off on it. I love the Gagas and the Madonnas and that they are in their visual, they're the captain of the ship.
Yeah.
I think that's huge.
And I feel like that helps too, because it's not it becomes one of those things where this is how, or this is why there's longevity in this artist's career. Yeah. This is why, no matter how old, the fans might be, they're still gonna grow with this artist because
100%.
You already feel like you're more family and friends than it is I'm a fangirl.
It's
I had to put that pun in there.
That was good. Yes. you know. I think that it isn't, and this is there are different types of ways you can go about being an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I should post more on TikTok and I should do a little friends and do
and
a little
everything,
thing. But for me,
I don't know
and
what that was.
Yeah. I think it's a career, and a career is longevity, and a career is being smart about about growing that. And it might not be the most exciting thing sometimes. It would be really fun if I had a ton of viral videos but that can just sizzle because you don't have that foundation of who you are as an artist. And even though I do have a small but mighty fan community, they're loyal.
Yeah.
And they are there for me. And we're growing. We are growing, but my fans are they have been with me for 10 years.
Yeah.
Like they listened to me in high school when we were young, and now like we're in our late 20s, and they're still like, I just got married and I listened to the song, or and you're like, that is what it's about. Like, I don't care what anyone says. I would rather those like true ride or dies than like a bunch of vanity followers.
No, and that's I mean, that's why I do the things I do, because it's like I get to experience these kinds of sides of artists that other people don't, or these artists don't even know that they have these sides sometimes. So it's really cool that you do that with your music, and you do that with your fans, your audience.
Yeah.
When it comes to that creative process of this track, High Low, I know the lyrics and the tone of it was pretty challenging already, but like, where do you feel that you got challenged in the recording process with your producer?
Okay, so I got challenged because I have been fighting an internal battle. You're the first person I've talked to about this, like, out. I have been a pop girl all my life, but for me, it's like pop rooted in like David Bowie and Madonna, and like pop that really is like in some ways like energetically more rock. And so I really went into this record being like, I want to make a rock record because I feel like energetically I'm a rock artist, but I continued to write pop songs. So like for me, when I first wrote High Low, I was like, this is a great song. I wrote it with Jessica Sharman in Nashville, and I was like, this is a great song. But I was like, it can't go on the record. Wow. Because it's a pop song. And I was like, I don't want to like, I just like can't be there. And so when I got in the studio, like we wanted to bring more like industrial, like noise and like have it be a little grittier. So yes, like I'm going to be honest, it's still hard. It's still main genre. It is a pop song, but it's not just a pop song. Like it has that edge that I wanted it to have. And I had to kind of make peace with the fact that like, just as like we can have a more open view on like what gender is, I always think like we should have that same view on genre.
Music,
And like just because it's pop, like I've had a lot of people lately be like, you were chaperone, like you were doing, and I was like, yeah, but like that makes me so excited that like that is pop music, but it's still like rooted in these other things, and like that's been like the world that I've been so a part of for a while, and it's so excited to see people like understanding that it's not just pop music, it's not just rock music, it's not just punk music. It's like we can all kind of take a little moment from everything. So that was my journey with High Low, is like, it's okay, it's still me.
So I wasn't too far off about the vocals. It was different from the previous material because it is more of a rockier kind of vibe.
Rockier, like less produced.
Dope. I dig that.
You were right.
And at the same time, you know, we kind of talked about it earlier, and I didn't realize that this was what we were talking about earlier, but when I listened to Hot for Mike, I was like, this is what I grew up listening to. Like, I grew up in this like rock punk type of scene.
That's my punk project.
And now you're doing something like that. So when you balance your material and then that project together, like how does that work? How do you not mix them together? How do you separate
Desperate
the
Housewives
two?
is so clearly its own thing. So me and my best friend Celeste Talker, we have a side project called Desperate Housewives. It was us in the watching the Desperate Housewives. Mind you, our band is HAUS, Housewives. We're both German, so it was like a fun little play.
Nice.
But it was us. We wrote Hot for Mike literally right here. We'd watched the show. We thought it was hilarious. We might have been a little stoned, and we wrote the song in 20 minutes, and we sang it throughout the because we loved it. And we joked about how we were making, what was it? We had a conceptual album, but really the only thing conceptual about it was a concept in our mind that we were going to make this album. So we kept telling people, we're making this, we have this conceptual album.
Tour following up.
And then we wrote this song, Slut Era, with our friend, and we were just joking around. We had a party at the house, and we were drunk enough that we like played the song on a Bluetooth speaker in the living room. And from that point forward, like people kept being like, when's Slut Era coming out? Like I love Slut.
That's the anthem.
And it was like, and it was so funny because we were like, it's not. It's not. It's just a joke. Like we were just watching Desperate Housewives and taking funny plot lines and just making songs about it. So they feel very different because it's just so like everything in Desperate Housewives is like tongue in cheek. We just finished our second EP. And the songs are like we're gonna take you to the Church of Boy Joy.
Oh man.
Wisteria Lane Poker Club. Johnny on Ice.
Oh,
like they're
man.
just funny, fun songs. So they do feel very different, but it is so fun to have like that space to like put even more punk energy.
Yeah. It's like a refresh for when you're like going back to your full project.
Yeah. Oh my God, you're so much more excited too. You're like, oh wait, making music is fun. Like what a concept. So yeah, I mean, and it's fun because it's both of us are in our album cycles and we're so passionate about our solo projects. It's like everything that we've like worked for our entire life and we are so proud of them. And it's so fun to have another place musically that we can play in so that we can like appreciate both of them so much more.
I like the dynamic because it sounds like, you know, when you come into your own project, you're like focused on the lyrics. You may not be like on a time constraint, but for you, I'm sure you're like, I got to write this record. I got to write this track. And then you step out for a moment and then you record a hit like Hot for Mike in like 20 minutes. And then it's like everybody loves it at the same time. And then it refreshes you to go back into the studio for yourself.
Yeah, I think the goal is that they both feed each other. Like the goal is that they both like fulfill us creatively. Like we love doing stuff together for their own solo projects, but this is like our place that we can just like, we could like rhyme like joy with toy and be like or joy with joy. Like we don't care. Like sometimes a line goes in and we're like, yeah, I like it, and it means nothing, and we're like, that's like the punk ethos. So they're both very exciting, and it's gonna be like, I don't know how this is fitting in, but I have a single coming out every month. I'm doing that whole
for the
thing
album.
for the album.
Okay.
But in that time, there will also be 3 singles coming out for Desperate Housewives and that EP. That will all happen in the same
So for every
cycle.
single you release, we get 3 singles?
It's insane. Yeah, it feels like that. Yeah. There's a lot of music. I think in this year, like, I mean, there's 14 songs on the album, which is a lot. And then, so 17 songs within the next year. Hell yeah.
Damn.
I'm excited.
Damn. This is why there's longevity in your career. Like you're creative, whether it's like your own project or something else. It's like
a funny thing though, because like next month I'm like going in the studio to write the next album. So it's like that's what people don't realize is it doesn't stop. No, you can't. It's like dumb. As I feel like it can stop when people can like, when you release a song and it's like 3 weeks old and they're like, oh, that old song of yours, that old song that's 3 weeks old.
So when's the next single coming? Because High Low was out.
Old. It was out. It has
20, 30, 48 hours ago.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel. The next single is coming out June 12th.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I don't know how that's happening.
Yeah.
It's done. So that's a plus. The cover is not.
Wow. Damn. Well, I guess I'm going to have to be coming back here every month.
Yeah, I'll see you. It's our monthly check-in.
Well, Fiona, I could talk to you forever. I love this chemistry
that
we have going on here. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. I'm doing this. This is a blast.
Here, that was a weird hug.
Oh, let's do it. Okay, right here.
High Low is amazing. You guys be sure to check out her new single. It's out now. And thanks for watching here on Front Row Live.
Thank you.